This is how Apple is about to beat Garmin. Oh, they just released their newest watchOS, which is watchOS 11. It's a massive software update that comes out pretty much every single year. And I'm gonna go through all the newest features, the life-changing features that I'm extremely excited about, the nice-to-have features that I think are gonna help some people. And then finally, we'll just list out all the other cool stuff that's coming out too. If you haven't watched the hardware videos about the Apple Watch Ultra 2 Satin Black and the Series 10, I will have those linked at the end of the video if you want to watch more about the hardware in these two devices. Now, first is sleep apnea notifications. So if you didn't know, 80% of people with sleep apnea are undiagnosed. If you watch my channel, you know that I've done actually a few sleep apnea tests because I struggle to breathe. I know my nose is kind of big, but I still can't get air in and out all the time, and I have a deviated septum from the MRI scan I got, blah, 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 blah. I think there are a lot of people that are potentially waking up tired, not getting good sleep, and not breathing properly, and they have no idea. That would be this side of the bucket. And then there are so many people that have iPhones, Apple Watches, and just with a flip of a software switch, they could find out if they need to explore more clinical diagnosis of sleep apnea. I think that's game-changing, especially for a company of Apple's scale. So what's interesting is they use the accelerometer data, which is the movement of your watch, to estimate breathing disturbances, because when we're sleeping at night, you're like, you know, that's an over-exaggeration, but that can potentially predict your breathing disturbances. I did a study where people wore equipment in a lab, a PSG, polysomnography, or an at-home test, HSAT, home sleep apnea test. So some wearables say they measure AHI, which I tested a long time ago, which is apnea hypopnea index. And then they trained their algorithm based on that data, and then they validated the algorithm against some new data. It was 3,936 nights of sleep data plus over 2,100 participants to create the algorithm, and then they tested it against over 7,200 nights of data with over 2,500 people. And I think at Apple scale, it's important to not get this incorrect, because if everyone starts getting sleep apnea notifications, imagine how many people are gonna go to their doctor and say, hey, I need a sleep apnea test, my Apple Watch said this. So what I do like is they had a 95.9% specificity. And that means for the people who don't have sleep apnea, 95.9% of the time, the Apple Watch is good at not giving them a sleep apnea notification. So I will be testing this in the future. Let me know what kind of information that you want to see. But I can already see one of my breathing regularity nights right here. There will be more to come. Now, I think that feature touches on the most amount of people, right? Sleep apnea is huge. It's something we don't talk about enough. But the next piece is the Vitals app. What is Vitals? So it's an app that measures things like our resting heart rate, our breathing rate, our skin temperature, and a few other things. Surprisingly, there's no heart rate variability, which I would have loved to see. So in the app, it'll show you, hey, you're in a typical range or you're in an outlier range, and that's based on your previous data. I think one thing that kind of threw me off a little bit is my sleep is just kind of all over the place. And sometimes I'll get 4 hours of sleep or 5 hours of sleep, and it says, hey, you're in typical range. Ideally, I don't want to be getting that much, but because I have so many nights of data where I do sleep that little, that's considered my typical range. So although it is based on me, I would love to see some more tight parameters, so it does kind of teach me, hey, stop sleeping 4 to 5 hours a night sometimes. But I think this applies to everyone who, you know, you live life, you exercise maybe, you travel, and you have jet lag, you get sick or ill. This app can notify you if you're out of range in one or multiple areas. And then on those days, especially if I'm sick, I can be like, oh, I need to hold back. Let's not go to the office today. Let's not interact with friends. My watch is saying I'm a little bit off. I think having a tool that can keep you in check like that is very powerful. Now, going from just a basic Vitals point of view, there is a new training load feature. So as someone who's training for the New York City Marathon, I do want to know, hey, am I overtraining, undertraining? A feature that I actually love about the Garmin's is if I go in here, I can see training. Hey, you're productive. Your training readiness is high. I think the training status is probably closest to the training load on the Apple Watch, but if I go to the Apple Watch, there's even a watch face now. I can have, hey, my vitals are typical, and on the right-hand side, I have my training load. So if I tap into my Vitals app, I can see, oh, I was typical last night, which is good, 5.5 hours. I know I need to sleep more, but I want to get this video out. And if I scroll all the way down, I can see my training load, and this is calculated based on intensity and duration of your workouts. So it's going to take the time, your heart rate data, as well as a number that you input in terms of how you felt about that workout. And it's a rating from 1 to 10. And both of these subjective and objective variables will define your training load. So I can see, as you can see, I've been a little lazy this week with my running, which I need to get more into, but you know, sleep is my priority right now. But there was Saturday, I had a long run, so I was well above, and you can see it was it was not too hard, but it was definitely relatively hard where it pushed my training load a little bit higher. I would love to see this kind of in the well above range for a majority of the week. So I'm gonna work on that for next week. And then anytime I might have an outlier, it will have that option at the bottom here. So, but right now it just says I'm typical for my vitals. So if you are an athlete, training for an Ironman, a marathon, 10K, whatever it is, maybe even you're just weightlifting, you can start to track this on your Apple Watch with a new update and understand if you're overtraining, undertraining, or just doing the right amount where you're growing, getting stronger and better, because consistency is key. And the last big major change is offline maps. So now when I go onto the Maps app on my iPhone, let's say I want to save some offline maps, which I did. You can see New York I've saved because I want to be able to leave my iPhone at home, and I actually stopped paying for cellular on my watch because I just didn't use it enough. But now I can still see a map of where I am just in case I get lost. I can download new maps. So I download this to my iPhone and now it's pending to download to my Apple Watch. I just need to put it on the charger, or I can just press download now. So I can set up, hikes. I can go ahead and pick a specific hike. I can draw that in the map. I can have offline maps when I don't have connection. I can get turn-by-turn navigation and even topographical maps, all inside of Apple Maps, which I think is huge. And I love that it also works on the Apple Watch now. Next are the really nice to haves. They don't apply to me as much, but I think they're important to discuss. One is the check-in features. You can go ahead and turn that on, and your Apple Watch can send you a check-in, whether it's for a workout or a distance or a duration. And you can check in with a friend. It sends to their friend, and after that point, if you haven't checked in with them or you haven't gotten to that, your iPhone hasn't gotten to that destination, it will notify them, hey, something's up. And if maybe you're running late, you can always extend it. So I think from a safety perspective, this can be extremely valuable for some people. I think for me, I'm a large brown man with a beard, and I think most people are intimidated by me. So when it comes to like walking at home, that's a privilege that I don't have to worry about, but I know this can impact a lot of other people. Next is the cycle tracking and pregnancy support. There's a lot more features for folks who are pregnant. I'm still looking for my future wife so that we can be able to test this feature out, but it will use data like your heart rate, walking steadiness, just to provide another layer of assurance throughout the pregnancy process. And lastly is the new Smart Stack. So I was traveling this past week and I actually love this one. So if you're requesting Ubers or on a flight, so United does support this, United Airlines, I will have a Smart Stack here where it shows how much time I have until my gate starts boarding. If I request an Uber, it'll have like a live countdown of how much time until the Uber arrives to pick me up. And usually this pops up right here. I can even see my seat and all that stuff after the boarding time has started. So it makes it super glanceable. I just roll up my wrist, I see the Smart Stack, it's live, and I know where I'm sitting on the plane, or I know how much time I have until my Uber arrives, or how much time I have until boarding starts. So having live activities, they started on the iPhone, you can see them on the home screen. Now they are on your Apple Watch. That's a big change. And lastly, these are kind of the coolish things. You can customize the fitness screen, so you can move up the training load stuff to the top. You can add new little boxes, so I like to see my running mileage throughout the week. I typically use Strava, and just being able to have that in the fitness app is really nice. With activity rings, I can now pause my rings. Let's say I'm injured because I broke my foot last year, or I can even change my goals where it's not just a daily move goal, but it's a day-to-day move goal. So like Sunday's a rest day, 0 calories. And you can change each of those day by day. I think that's huge because before I would do competitions and it was like, go, go, go. But I think it's important to promote rest days as well. Open Translate. Now we have the Translate on the Apple Watch. If you watch my I Traveled with my Apple Watch series, I can go ahead and translate. So let's try this. Hola, ¿cómo está?
Hola, ¿cómo está?
I can press this and someone can speak to me. It instantly translates the text. I can even play it if I need to. I'm excited. The real question is, what country should I travel to test this feature out? We also have a new Photos watch face, so I can go to New Watch Faces here. We can find the Photos one, and the Apple Watch is going to use AI to figure out which photos are best for watch faces, especially if you have a family or kids. This is a great way to have their faces on your watch. Apple Fitness Plus has a ton of new features with a new navigation page and a For You page. There's a great way to explore all kinds of workouts. If you're someone who wants something that's led, they even have programs that are like 5 weeks long, like Couch to 5K. So if you want to start working out, you don't want to deal with figuring out what to do, easy way to start, and it integrates with the Apple Watch. Two other small things is ultra wideband home keys. So I actually love smart locks. So now with the ultra wideband on the Apple Watches, you can easily be able to unlock your door when you're nearby and not have to fully tap it onto there using NFC. And two is double tap scroll on any app. So before, the double tap was really only applicable to like Apple sections. But now if I go to a non-Apple app, I can open up Spotify, and now if I double tap, it scrolls inside the Spotify app automatically. Now, if you want this update, make sure to update your iPhone to iOS 18. I think from iPhone XS and up, you're able to do that. Once you do that, you can do this right now. You can update your watch to watchOS 11 to get all of these amazing features. Since you enjoyed this video, make sure to go watch my hardware videos on the Ultra and the Series 10. If If you haven't already subscribed, turn on notifications. I'm going to keep reviewing these watches. Let me know what you want to see next. I have way too many watches, guys. We'll see you in the next video.